Okay, continuing on to step 2. You'll notice I have a solved cube right now, but that's to demonstrate the next algorithm. The next algorithm is going to be a corner swapping algorithm. You're going to need it for step 2 as well as step 3. And the good news is, actually, we're not going to use any other algorithms apart from this algorithm. All it is it swaps these two corners and it swaps these two edges. I believe it's called a J permutation. So if I execute the algorithm, it looks something like this. Okay, you'll notice that these two edges switched and these two corners switched. So just undoing it looks something like this. Okay. Okay, so I have an oriented cube here. What I want to do now is I want to go through and place each of the corners in their correct positions. So the purpose of me showing you the algorithm beforehand was to help understand or make sense more of this step. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to redefine the buffer zone and undisturbance zone first. The buffer zone has now changed to the front right top area, so here, and the undisturbance zone has changed to this corner over here, which would be the back top right corner. The definitions remain the same, so the buffer zone is still the area in the cube where we want to place a piece, execute an algorithm, and then put it back to wherever it originally belonged in order to orient. And the undisturbance zone, same definition. We don't want to disturb this area of the cube while placing pieces into the buffer zone. So you can think of the undisturbance zone also as, in this case, the piece that's on deck, or the piece that's next to be placed into whatever correct position. So first up is the blue, orange, yellow piece. So that piece actually belongs blue, orange, yellow right here. Okay, so let's move this piece temporarily to the buffer zone. Now, you might think that I could just go like this, but that's incorrect. I want to maintain the orientation of this cube. So in order to do that, I want to still keep at all times the cube oriented. So I would want to twist it actually twice here. So now it's here, move it over, and then move it to the buffer zone. Okay. So now I'm just going to execute the corner swapping algorithm. So now this piece comes here, and when I move it back, I have the piece correctly oriented. So you can see now this piece is correctly oriented. As a byproduct of doing the corner swapping algorithm, you have a new piece that's on deck. You can see here that it is the red, blue, white corner. So red, blue, white belongs where? Red, blue, white, here. So in order to get this into the buffer zone, I would have to move it this way. And remember, I can't go like this because now I've messed up the orientation. You want to keep the orientation. So I want to move it here, then move this up twice. Execute the algorithm. Move it back. Alright, I've executed the algorithm. The next piece that I have is this guy. Blue, red, yellow. That's actually this piece. So this piece is already in the buffer zone, so I can just execute the algorithm right away. You can see it's here now, and it's correct. So next piece in the buffer zone, or on deck, is orange, green, white. So orange, green, white. It's over here. So we have to put this piece into the buffer zone. You can see this is solved now. Next piece on deck would be green, orange, yellow. So that's this piece here. And now I just move it back. Great. So you could start to see a checker pattern starting to come along, so that's good. Blue, orange, white. Here's blue, orange, and then white. So we have to move that piece up here, execute the algorithm, and just move it back. So that's solved. Now we've done all of the corners, I believe. So you should see after this step, your entire cube looks like a checkered pattern. And I would just recommend maybe trying this step out a few times until you're comfortable with it. For most people, this is the second easiest step or second hardest step. And the steps usually tend to go, well, for blind solving, in order of difficulty. So most people have the easiest time with the first step, then the second step is a little harder, and the final step, third step, is probably the hardest because it requires the most memorization. Now, there was one case that I wanted to mention with the pieces. Let's say your cube is not already solved, but in the undisturbance zone you already have the solved piece. We'll call this the bad corner. Now you'll see that the bad corner is here, and yet there are other pieces, the other corners in this cube that are not solved. All you have to do in this case is just send this bad corner to any unsolved piece or to any unsolved area. So we're lucky here that the buffer zone has an unsolved piece. It's the easiest to move it into the buffer zone because I don't have to actually move anything into the buffer zone first. If the buffer zone was already solved, then I would have to move it temporarily and say this would probably be the next easiest piece to temporarily move in. So you just look for an unsolved corner and just move it in here, and then continue on with your algorithms. So again, this buffer zone is not solved, so I can just move it in here. Okay, so I move the bad corner here, and now you can see the next piece is blue, red, white. So that's over here, so I could just continue on without any problem. So blue, red, white down here, I could go here, move it up, and now it's here. So you can see that the bad corner continues to remain here until I get to the piece that belongs there, in which case this will pop out and then I have to put it into a new place. But you can just continue to follow that same case scenario where whenever this piece is in here, you just move it to an unsolved corner, and eventually the cube will solve itself once you go through each of the corners.